Woo-wee, baby. We got a lot to talk about. We got a whole lot to talk about. Sky Squad, we are back in the building, and we got to talk about this finale of Real Housewives of Potomac. For one, I gotta tell y'all, I love recapping shows, but when we get to the end of a season, I just be like, it usually gets so wild and crazy. I'll be like, oh my God, I'm so glad this season is over. And honestly, I really am glad this season is over because I'm just like, it's just too much. It's too much for me. It's too much. It's too doggone much. Listen, a quick shout out to everybody that watched the recap of Andy's sit down with Robin the Ponderosa. Okay. Let us know if you happen to catch that Ponderosa, because we did touch on that in that video. We got a super chat early that says, from JMW, that says, I never thought I would say this, but Potomac is going downhill like Real Housewives of Atlanta did. For sure, they better let Ashley, Robin, and Giselle go. Thank you for that super chat. Speaking of Ashley, I actually had the pleasure of working with her today when I was at Fox 5 doing the Lion Lunch Hour. I did not know that she was going to be guest hosting, but we did a doggone thing. We actually got a chance to ask her some interesting questions, some of which I will touch on as we go through this review. Now, listen, make sure you guys put your location down in that good chatterization. All right. We thank you so much for watching all the way from South Africa, baby. You know what I'm saying? We appreciate the love. Mobile, Alabama. Yes. Come on through. Come on through. All right. Let's get into the episode because we got a lot to cover. Okay. I want to know on a scale of 1 to 10, and I'm reading you guys' comments right now in the Dubai, baby. Yes, baby. Yes. I want to know what you guys will rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. For me, I am going to rate this episode. I'm going to have to rate this episode an 8 for me. And I give it an 8 because I don't really know. I mean, this episode was interesting to me because I feel like there were some things that I felt like were kind of just thrown together like at the last minute. And I felt like for the editing teams to have invested so much time and energy into, some of the earlier episodes, I felt like this finale episode, again, there were just several elements that just seemed kind of rushed and forced. An example of that for me is, at the end, and I don't know what it is that they are doing to Karen. But for me, I feel like the continuous, I don't know, it just feels like a little bit degrading the way they're just sort of piling on to Karen with all of this stuff. It just feels, I don't know, like I didn't understand what Mia's purpose was for bringing up this information about this guy that owns a restaurant, and Karen was allegedly, let me put the badge up, dating the man, the friend of the owner of the restaurant, and she was with him in Vegas. Is that supposed to be who she was with in Vegas from the photographs that Robin had? That wasn't made very clear to me, and this story just seemed out of the blue. I didn't get it. I didn't get that part of it. This whole, even the wedding, it was just, the episode just felt off to me. All right. I was trying to figure out what restaurante they was talking about too, Miss Felicia. I really was, because I was like, what? Here's the thing. And let me just say this, because I think that someone in Potomac needs to hear it, whether it is production or whether it is the cast. We as a viewing community are obviously at a point where we are beyond just taking exposing someone's marriage or whatever like that, or alleged indiscretions are entertaining. It's become a little cringeworthy for me because it seems overly obsessive. Um, so I don't know. I just think it's just too much. And I feel like you're substituting shade and exposing people for actual story that has any substance. And so for season 8, I do think that they need to switch up the formula. I mean, keep the editors, okay? But switch up the formula because just as a viewing community, it feels very negative. It drains a lot of us mentally and spiritually, and it's just no longer interesting. There's nothing new there that we can see. So something has to happen. I don't know whether that's, a cast shift or whatever the case may be, but production does need to work with the ladies on this idea of, ooh, who we gonna get now? It's got to be more than that. So let's just dive right in. All right. So speaking of Ashley, because we did talk about her just a second ago, um, she takes Dean, I believe, to dinner for a mommy and son date to let her know that they're going to be moving into a new home. She doesn't want, the kids to resent her for making the decision to move on with her life, and move out from with Michael. And we get into this is what I should have asked Ashley earlier today when we was there, but I didn't get a chance to because I also knew that some of the questions that I wanted to ask, she couldn't really get into because they're going to be covered at the reunion. But here's the thing. She submitted a down payment for the home. They bought the house together in their joint LLC. All right. Now, because they bought the home together in their joint LLC, that tells me that they most likely put the 20% down. So when I'm thinking about the full 20% down, they could have put more down, but I'm thinking they at least put 20% down. Now, when the producer asks her who's going to be paying the mortgage, are they splitting it? She says they haven't discussed who will be paying the mortgage, but the mortgage is $13,000 per month. Okay. $13,000. I feel like Nene Leakes. $10,000, $13,000. Now, for perspective's sake, I mean, that's a lot of money. Okay. I ain't gonna even lie. Like, to me, even when they said it on the screen, when she said it, I was shocked because I was like, that's a heaping helping of rent per month. And then I think what it does is it underscores exactly. I don't know how much Ashley makes, but it does underscore the idea that we have not really, I don't really think, touched on hit the surface of how filthy rich Michael Darby likely is. Okay. And I'm gonna leave it at that. Now, are they splitting that mortgage? Because even if they splitting that mortgage, that's a good $7,500. $7,500. No, what? $6,500. Excuse me. My math was wrong. The math won't mathing. That's $6,500 if they splitting it down the middle. That's a lot. That's still a heaping helping worth of cash that I wouldn't want to have to pay. But okay, Miss D Green, listen, that's a lot of money. A lot of money. Okay. Now, I'm just trying to figure out what the tea is on that. Hopefully, we'll find out soon enough. in 2 weeks when the reunion happens. All right. So meanwhile, in other parts of Potomac, Giselle is tossing branches off her house, and Robin is exercising with Juan for her wedding. In case you needed a reminder. All right. Now, the next scene that we get is Karen chatting with her publicist. All right. And, they're talking about the full wig collection. And so, she FaceTimes Mia, and Mia relays that, yeah, girl, we went out, and Charisse said you will sleep with anything walking, okay? And that you was having relations in the bathroom at the club with the bartender. Now, last week, I didn't know it was the bartender, but now that we know it's the bartender, I'm like, well, hopefully, if you're sleeping with the bartender, you getting some drinks for free. Otherwise, that's a waste of your nookie. You know what I'm saying? Meanwhile, Karen asked Mia, well, did you defend me? I don't hear that you defended me in all this. Because, Karen said she would have defended Mia. And Mia reveals, no, didn't defend you. But maybe I should have. I don't know. What do you think? I don't know. Possibly. I guess. I don't know. I didn't feel like it. Yeah, I was eating steak, lobster. There were strippers. It was raining money and men and women. So, Mia says, I didn't do it. Maybe next time. And so now Karen has put Mia on the list in timeout because she don't trust her no more. All right. Meanwhile, Robin and her mom and dad get together over at Robin's house. I'm going to say this. I do like the decor in Robin's home. I mean, I cannot hate on whoever decorator she used. I mean, yeah, I just think she did a good job. I was about to compare it to someone else's home, but I'm not going to do that. So she brings up them going to Jamaica and possibly, tacking on her wedding to the brother's wedding or the brother-in-law's wedding, that tacky idea. And the mama does not like it. Miss Mama doesn't like it at all. Okay. She's not here for it. I'm not here for it. And Miss Mama lets her know, girl, no. Okay. This is not how we're going to do things. We need to be there. And Robin's perspective is that, well, if we invite you, then we have to invite everybody. And I would almost say, yes, here's the thing. When you get married, it becomes a very touchy situation about the invites and who gets invited. And it really becomes touchy, I think, because of people, especially if you got married during the panorama, right? However, she's not getting married in the panorama. So there are really no parameters for which she needs to abide by in terms of a guest list and restrictions, unless it is that she just don't want to pay for all these people, in which that is her right to do or not to do. But if Mama says Mama wants to be there, then you need to go ahead and let Mama be there because that is Mama. That ain't just anybody else. All right. So anybody that gets upset because they wasn't invited, then they got to understand that that's Mama. That's Mama now. All right. We all know that they didn't get married in Jamaica. So I don't even know why they left the scene in there. Meanwhile, Mia and Gordon head to the doctors. We learned that Mia has a lymph node that is swollen, I believe. Gordon says, and she says something about how, something when they tell you that you might die. And Gordon is like, when you interpret that they said that, there may be a disconnect between what the doctor is saying and what Mia is hearing. I don't know. So she's visiting her dermatologist, and they sort of revisit all of her previous visits. The biopsy is good, but they need to ensure that the lymph nodes are okay. And we get flashbacks that I found the most curious of Giselle questioning her cancer scare, Karen saying she don't play about the cancer. And I'm like, why did the producers put that in the scene? What are they trying to tell us in this moment? Because honestly, it just felt like, okay, she's going for a doctor's visit. There may be something, there may not be something. It sounds like it's nothing, but it could be. I don't know. So I was still left a little bit unclear. Listen, as long as the woman is healthy, I feel like I guess that's all that matters. Speaking of health, Giselle takes the girls, her daughters, out to dinner to let these daughters know that she is potentially, possibly, maybe dating Steve. Steve, we did not meet way back in season 4, but we saw a flashback of him from season 4. Now, I don't think we met him in season 4, but they do show a flashback of him there in the New Orleans. And so this to me was also fodder, because ultimately we know that she's now allegedly dating the Jason Cameron person from Winter House, who I think is about maybe 16 years younger than her, which, listen, ain't nothing wrong with that, because get it how you live it. But at the end of the day, I felt like, why even tell us about Steve at the last episode, and then next week we're going to be talking about somebody else? And granted, the people can date who they want to date, but I just feel like, why we even bring up Steve? Why did y'all tell us about Steve at the end of the last episode of the season? This is what I mean. And when I talk to you guys about that 8 that I gave it earlier, this is what I mean. Why are we introducing someone new on the last episode? No, this doesn't make any sense to me. The other thing that Giselle needs to discuss with them is that she needs to have surgery on these fibroids. Now, the hilarity ensued when she was trying to tell her daughters where exactly the surgery was going to take place inside a woman's body. Okay, and as she's reviewing female anatomy with them, they got a lot of questions. That's all I'm gonna say. They got a lot of questions that they need to know, and I'm gonna leave it there. I prefer watching Giselle with her daughters versus watching her in the mix with the rest of the ladies, because I feel like the daughters do a very good job of humanizing Giselle in a way that I feel like the show fails to capture in most instances. But that's just me. So Karen then FaceTimes Wendy and updates Wendy on what Mia told her that the rest of the girls was telling her. Karen is disappointed that Mia didn't defend her, and Wendy sums it up like this: sometimes it's not the voice of our enemies, but the silence of our friends. Whew! Wendy with the word right there, baby. Wendy with a word right there. All right, so we get to Candace's music video release party, which is going to be the final event of the season. Giselle arrives and she does actually speak to Chris. Now, Giselle tells us in her confessional that she wants to have a conversation with Chris, because we get a flashback from Mexico of Giselle telling Candace that she wants to get in a better place with her. Why didn't we see this in the Mexico episodes? This makes no sense to me. This was a major piece of story that I feel like, I don't know, it feels like the producers just said, we got to end the season. I don't know, just throw it in there. Fit it in. However you can get it in there. We don't have time during the actual season to show the things that we need to show. I just didn't understand that. That didn't make any sense to me, because I'm like, why would y'all leave that out and give this only to us in a flashback? This was a major story that really started the season off. And for it to just kind of like get just shoved into the last episode, it just felt like, y'all ever seen a movie where the movie might be good and right up until they get to the end, and then it just seemed like, well, wait, what was the end of that? Y'all wrap that up real quick. I don't even feel like I got the rest of the story. That's what it felt like to me. That's how I felt. So she apparently told Candace that she felt like Chris could have just said sorry. And Candace says, well, if you had done it the right way, then maybe he would have. And then Giselle says, I hear you. So she wants to have the conversation and move on. Now, we got a comment from All About Those Comments who says, Giselle says she was dating 3 people in towards the around the twins' birthday, and no one brought it up again, and none of the suitors were shown. I mean, you know what I'm saying? Exactly. Jessica W says Game of Thrones last season. That's exactly what it feels like. That's exactly what it feels like. Like, oh, let's just wrap all this up. So Chris feels like an apology could smooth things over, but he's standing in his truth in the fact that he did nothing wrong, and he doesn't need to see or speak to her ever again. So Candace arrives, but she's demanding an introduction. Okay, it is her party after all, and so an introduction she does get. Everybody else arrives. You know, even Karen, and Karen is standing by her man. She is not leaving Ray's side at all. I don't blame her. Knowing what the wretched things that these women are saying about her behind her back, I wouldn't leave a Ray's side either if I was you, Karen, because the moment you do, they are going to pounce on you like white on rice. So, Ashley arrives and she gets right into it, telling Wendy that Mia said that they had problems because Wendy wanted the cookie. So Wendy immediately goes to call her out and says, you said that you wanted to eat the box so bad. It was you with the box of cookies. So they hug it out, and Wendy lets us know that Mia should have just told her she wanted to touch the box of Cheerios. And you know, Wendy might have let her done it. Okay. Thank you, Janine, for that super chat. I appreciate you. Appreciate you, boo. So after that, we get some introductions made by Jasmine from the Jasmine brand. Candace gets emotional and she thanks her man, and we get to see some of the video, which is really nice. Mia even says it's an upgrade, but Giselle can't even be bothered to remember the song, you know. So that kind of felt like a little moment of hateration, because, like, why are you there if you're not going to be supportive? Whatever. Robin finally arrives after the music video premiere is done. She's come from a bridal shower, you know. And so Giselle cannot wait to spill the tea to Mia. No, not about what she said herself, but she can't wait to spill the tea that Mia called her a lady of the night. Oh, yes. Oh, yes. Mia called her a lady of the night. So Karen says, well, Mia missed that part in our conversation. And Giselle is like, well, you need to ask her about it because, well, Giselle even admits to in her confession. At this point in time, Giselle is not even trying to fool us. She's straight up telling us in these past couple of episodes, yeah, I'm going to twist the story around. Yeah, I'm going to get it wrong on purpose. Yeah, I'm just being real messy because I ain't, you know, that's what else we going to do. You know what I'm saying? They paying me, so I might as well just be a little messy. I mean, I feel like, is that my role on the show? Is that what y'all want me to do? That's what the paychecks say? Oh, go cause some mess? All right, well, I got you. It don't even have to be true. All right, even better. Okay. It feels lazy. Meanwhile, Mia claims she didn't say that. Actually, we know Mia didn't say it as in accusing her of being one. Mia was asking, are y'all saying she's one? The ladies at the time denied that, oh, she's not a lady. We're not saying she's a lady of the night. But you guys, I think what Mia was saying was you guys are positioning her to be that. But I digress. Because, of course, Giselle is not going to say, well, yes, this is what me and Cherie said. Anyway, Ashley says, well, this is all cause for pause. Ashley said something similar to that when we were at Good Day DC today. Well, the Lion Lunch Hour. And she said something to the effect that, there's a lot of stories about Karen. And so she wonders if some of it must be true. Thank you, T. Gray, for becoming a member of the Sky Squad. I appreciate you. All right. So Karen doesn't feel like she needs to respond to any of the BS that these women are spewing her way. So then they bring Charisse over because they are determined to make a moment and to make Charisse happen on this show. So Karen doesn't even know why Charisse is even speaking to her or breathing the same air as her. And so she walks away. So Robin then says, well, that's what I was expecting from Karen, to just walk away. Okay. And to that, I say, because for me, this is another one of those instances where Robin is demanding or really just kind of pushing for someone to own something or to have a conversation about something that when she herself is completely unwilling to do the same for. So you have an expectation of Karen that you are not willing to meet yourself. No, no, ma'am. We're not going to continue with that around here no more. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. It's not going to work. And these types of antics are what makes what make the show feel not so good to watch, because you're so intent on having someone else be exposed, but you are unwilling to do the work to make the show good by talking about your own issues. And those issues could have been done tastefully had you been willing to open up about them, have the conversation with Giselle on camera, but you chose to look the other way, hide it, and try to see if anybody gonna mention it. If you don't want someone coming after you, what you know about you, why don't you leave this woman alone? The battle between Charisse and Karen has been between Charisse and Karen. Robin has decided to insert herself in that beef for whatever reason, because if Karen doesn't want to be friends with Charisse, she doesn't owe any of the rest of these adult women an explanation about why she's choosing not to engage with someone that she doesn't want in her personal space. Why are you, Robin, offended by that? That's the problem that I have here. And if you know that you don't want anyone to talk about what is going on with you, why not leave other people alone? Janine says, Candace is crazy. Ashley would have never said anything to my husband after I said he ain't talking to nobody. And Charisse is dry as someone's scalp. You know what? Thank you, Janine. I appreciate that. All right. So Giselle hugs Candace and tells her she thought that she was going to have a conversation with Chris, but Chris is over there off to himself. So Candace says it's not a good time. But Giselle is like, well, didn't you say he wanted to talk to me? And I'm like, well, first of all, if you felt so big and bad, why not just go over there yourself? But okay, I get it. You want to be respectful of the situation and you want to allow him to come to you. But at the end of the day, I don't really feel like he should have to come to her. I feel like if the man don't want to talk to her, he don't want to talk to her. And that's just that, period. So Mia then goes to find Karen. Karen has to dismiss Ray again. Okay. Every time somebody comes to Karen, excuse me, they come to her with some BS. And she got to excuse Ray and tell him not to take any of this stuff personally. And that's where we get this story from Mia about some restaurante owner in PG County who has a friend, and that friend is someone that Karen was allegedly dating. And she was also allegedly in the Vegas with this person. So Mia presses Karen about this and says, well, this can't be all Sharice because this is somebody different from who Sharice was talking about. And Karen denies this and she denies this, but in her confessional, she says her people reached out to the restaurant owner and the people said that they don't even know Mia. They said, does she even go here? I said, oh my God, Karen. But this is what I'm talking about. This is a clear-cut example of why are we bringing this up? Why are we bringing this up? What is the reason? What is the point? Are we trying? Is the goal to try? Let me clear up some things real quick. And I know this is going to sound harsh. And I want people to understand me when I say this, and don't purposely misunderstand me, because I know somebody's going to do it. Karen, there's a large faction of the viewing audience that roots for Karen because Karen is able to slip and slide her way out of just about anything that they throw at her. Karen is oftentimes seemingly, well, I'll just leave it there. The other thing that I will say is that I believe that some of the ladies on the show dislike the fact that even though the audience may have opinions about what Karen does in her private life and her relationship with Ray, it doesn't outweigh the fact that that segment of the audience will always simply adore Karen. That, I am sure, has to grind some of those ladies' gears like no tomorrow. Because, as Robin stated, one of these days, people are going to see you for who you are, which tells me that you view Karen as someone that the fans put on a pedestal because you think that they don't see what is actually going on with Karen. And I'm here to say to those individuals, I don't think that the audience even cares what they allege about Karen. They just enjoy the Karen Huger of it all. Period. So it doesn't matter what y'all hurl at her. It doesn't matter what y'all say about her. It is not going to diminish the enjoyment that they have with watching her, even though Karen can slip and slide, okay? Slip and slide. She could do the Reebok around some stuff. You know, it is what it is. Hence the reason she got a spinoff. Let's just look, let's call it like it is. Call it like it T.I. is. Period. And once they get over this notion that Karen is just a well-liked woman by the viewing audience, I guarantee you they'll be a lot happier. Because the other thing that I can guarantee you is we, the audience, don't care as much about a scandal. Yes, we're shocked and we'll talk about it for a little while. But even as evidence last night, with the whole Robin sit down with Andy, if we ain't gonna get nowhere, we don't care. I have lost my capacity to care about this Robin and Juan situation. I have. I don't care if they choose to stay together. That's their business. I don't even really care about this girl in Canada. What I do care about is you making it seem like everybody else needs to be so transparent, but you're not doing the same. You putting this information out on your on your podcast and trying to make people pay for it on your Patreon. That's what I care about. And you making it feel like the show that we're watching has zero authenticity That's what I care about. Rania says Sharice wanted to get her last moment and Karen didn't give it to her. In the words of Karen, she's a hot mess and she knows it. Rania B, thank you so much for that super chat. So Robin snickers in her confessional that this is what Karen always does. She grabs Ray before Ray can hear about any of the nasty details and she runs off. So Karen leaves. Giselle is still pressing the Chris issue and why he hasn't talked to her since he was apparently the one that wanted to talk. So apparently Candace told her in Mexico that he wanted Candace and Giselle to work it out between the two of them first before he talked to her. So Ashley is still in like she's still upset that he threatened her on Twitter. I don't feel like he threatened her. I feel like that he basically said, if you keep going down this path, I have a right to defend myself and say stuff too. Point blank in the period. We have a super chat from Janine who says, Sharice is so thirsty for Karen. Does she know Deer Park water is always on sale for 3 for $10? If Sharice don't go get her 3 cases and leave Karen alone, and pick me up a case too. Okay? Pick me up a case too. All right. So, we got another super chat from Simply Shamar who says, Chris shouldn't have to apologize for the contrived fairy tales made up by someone that hasn't had a storyline in 5 seasons and decided to ruin his reputation to maintain relevance. Booyah. Okay. Booyaka. Thank you for that super chat. So, Robin astutely tells Giselle and Ashley that maybe he just don't want to talk to y'all right now. That's one of the best things that I've heard her say in this episode. It really is. Maybe he just don't want to talk to y'all right now. Maybe it's just not the time. Maybe it's not on his mind. Maybe the focus can be on his wife today. Thank you for that super chat, Candle Candy Ike. Thank you for that. All right. So Ashley lets Candace know that she wants to have a conversation. And she's grown, so she's because and Candace tries to tell a girl, no, not right now. This is my event. We're just trying to have a good time. And Ashley's like, well, girl, move out the way. I'm gonna have this conversation anyway. He's a grown man. Yeah, okay. This is where I may have a problem. Okay, because in my opinion, I kind of feel like this. If you're in my friend group and you tell me that you want to have a conversation with my husband, my partner, and you're my friend or in my friend group, and if I know that that person does not want to have a conversation with you, don't you circumnavigate me to go and have that conversation. Don't you do that. Okay? Because I feel like the reason why we're in this position is because he had thought that it was okay to have conversation with you when in fact it was conversation with you that allegedly made you feel uncomfortable. So no, you don't get to have no more conversations with him when I tell you that you're not able to do that anymore. Because you will never get another opportunity to say that, oh, my man made you feel, my person made you feel. You won't get that opportunity. No, ma'am. However, I understand because I feel like what Ashley was doing was, oh, we need a scene. I did ask her about it, to be fair, And she said she just wanted to clear the air. All right. That was my first question for her. She said she wanted to clear the air. She felt like they were two adults. And we didn't really get into any of the rest of the nitty and gritty about it because we had a lot of questions and we didn't have but a little bit of time. So, um, so she goes over to him, and I kind of felt like she started off wrong. The first thing she said were, "Well, your actions were questionable." No, what did she say? No, she said she was upset about the things he said on Twitter. Oh, maybe we should start with how you interpreted his DMs. Maybe we should start there. Maybe we should start by his the misinterpretation that Deborah seemed to have gotten from him at the spring fling. Maybe we should start there. But to start by what you felt like he said to you on Twitter in response to what you said about him is probably not the place to start if you want to really resolve it. You know what I'm saying? He tells her that what he said was out of anger, but he's not going to allow them to write a narrative for him that he feels is untrue. And he gets more and more frustrated, and he ends up cursing, and he's like, I didn't even want to curse at you. I don't want to get to this point. I'm sorry for that. But it's just making him, and at this point, I can see this conversation is not going to go anywhere because the next thing that she says is that his actions were questionable. So at this point, he completely goes off and he storms off. And Ashley is shocked. Okay. And Wendy asks her, "Girl, did you really thought that that was going to go well? You really thought that was, because I could have told you before you had that conversation, it was not going to go well, especially based on the way you started the conversation. It wasn't going to go well. So when it doesn't go well, now you shocked that it didn't go well. What did you think was going to happen? It wasn't like you said, you know what, Chris, I want to, like, can we just start over? Like, I think I misinterpreted your messages. I am like, how can we move past this? If you want to resolve something, don't go into the situation saying, well, you did this to me. The first thing you should say, if you guys have a disagreement about what happened, is what can we do to move forward? Okay. Don't walk it backwards. How are we moving from here? Period. Easy breezy. Janine says, I would have snatched that ash off of. You said, Janine. Thank you for that super chat, boo. What can we do to move the conversation forward? What can we do to move forward together? How do we do that? So anyway, he walks off. She says she didn't say anything wrong. And, Candace takes Chris out to talk to him. And then they show the title cards for the end of the season. And then we get the wedding. Now, the wedding took place in the Edgemere, Maryland. Okay. I'm assuming that's near like the ocean water. And they woke up in Jamaica. They did not feel right about tacking their wedding on to the tail end of somebody else's, thank God. So they did it in Maryland on August the 24th of 2022. We did get a very nice package of their relationship. But I believe, I could be wrong, I feel like they had somebody film the wedding for them, and then they probably submitted that footage, and then Bravo did their little editing magic on it to make it cohesive with the end of the season. I felt like the wedding was a beautiful ceremony. I think it was probably more appropriate to what Robin really wanted to do. And I think that had she just kind of been truthful about, we're going to do it here. We don't want to go someplace far away. We just want to do it, ourselves, and that's it. I really do think that had Robin never said on her podcast, well, Juan was being an idiot, and we're going to address this woman, I think that the news cycle would have forgotten about all that shenanigan, and she could have let this story play out on the show and ended the show with a beautiful wedding. But unfortunately, she has to end it with this title card. 5 months later, Robin admitted that Juan had been inappropriately communicating with another woman prior to their wedding. The couple claims to have worked through the issue. Why even admit to any of this when you don't have to? You didn't have to go on the podcast and talk about this. You did it of your own volition. I don't understand it. It took away from the magic that I felt watching that final wedding package. And that final wedding package gave me two feelings. One, it was a beautiful way to celebrate her run on the show, but also to celebrate a new beginning for herself. And I just felt like, had she never come out and given us this cockamamie story about this girl in this hotel room that whatever she was fed. I don't really care anymore. But had she never tried to feed us that same cockamamie story, then none of this would even be an issue right now. But for whatever reason, she decided to hop up on a podcast and say that and then try to make us pay for the tea. Like, no. Now we got to look at this. We got to look at this title card right here. You know what I'm saying? And now we're looking at this wedding package and we're like, the cognitive dissonance that I feel like is like this. Like, I mean, I'm supposed to be feeling like this is a beautiful package, but I know what happened. JMW says, since Robin not showing her reality, let's discontinue the husbands. Just take them off the show since it's always a scandal surrounding them. I mean, it's frustrating. All about those comments says this cast seems to need an outside intervention or group therapy. Do shows do that? Well, then, like a Nyanla intervention, okay, like they did on Braxton Family Values. Janine says her money was not enough for that Jamaican war. Yeah, so silly. Miss D Green says because she knew the story was complete next season. Thank you for that super chat. The other thing that package felt to me like, and this is the second thing it could have felt like, was the end of her story on this show. It was a beautiful way to put a bow on her story for this television show. I mean, if you don't really want to show what's going on with you and if they need you for the sake of drama, then maybe they can make her a friend next season. But I just kind of feel like there needs to be a shift in the dynamic and the storytelling on the show, because otherwise, if they need more of this, if they're going to do more of this, I don't want to see it. I don't want to see more of let's throw out accusations about people and try to expose them, because to me, that don't really feel too good. And it's not enjoyable. So, Richie, Bruce says, Richie, I want your honest opinion. Do you feel Robin should be allowed to come back next season to redeem herself or let go from the show? Lots of mixed feelings about this. You know, I never want to say that, I want somebody to lose out on their paycheck. But at the end of the day, I feel like I feel like she played a game with us. You know what I mean? She played a game with us. And I felt like because she played a game with us and with the network, I think that the right course of action would be to either give her a friend role or like what they did with Kenya. Like, you didn't want to show your real life. So what you gave us now has really taken a hit at the integrity of the show. Thank you for the super chat, Sweet Cherry. So I don't know. Y'all let me know how y'all feel about it down in the chatterization down below. I am so happy we are almost done with this season. I'm just ready for it to be over. I have nothing more to give this whole Robin situation. I do wish her the best. I also want to say that she should not be the person that has to bear all of the brunt on this situation. But I think that also because he was the one that obviously did it. And if they choose to stay together, then they choose to stay together because they have a family and they have, I'm sure, other things that need to go along with the life that they truly live. But I also have to say that something needs to change in Potomac for next season, and they need to fix it. Sharon says, Sharon, I'm gonna I see your super chat. I acknowledge your super chat, and I thank you for your super chat. I don't like to mention anything with kids on the show, so I'm going to leave that super chat off. And that's, you know, just to be respectful of them and their kids. All right, so listen. Oh, they said that the restaurant was Sobe. They didn't block it the last time Mia said it in closed caption. Ooh, y'all. See, you got to look at that closed caption, baby. You got to look at the details. Thank you so much, Black Cherry. I appreciate that. But at the end of the day, regardless, it's like, I don't. If Karen did have that going on, it don't really matter to me. What's happening on the show? Is it story? Is it not story? I don't know. I'm just tired at this point. I don't care no more. Thank y'all so much for tuning in, tapping in, and I really appreciate all the support that you guys have given me. You share the same frustrations that I've had with this show, and they really just come bubbling to the surface. So we're gonna leave it at that for now, and I'm gonna catch you guys in the next video.